All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first in everything we do and say. The Most High God comes first. I am Christ. I am disciple. You're watching my channel. If you like what you've seen, don't forget you can like, share, subscribe. This stream is brought to you by L.I.V.E products. L.I.V.E. Live now. We're live now. As you can see from the title, we're looking at Superman, Man of Steel. We're comparing it to Superman to 2025, but we're also going to be looking at a number of things when it comes to the Snyderverse. And even the detractors of the Snyderverse who are getting old, they don't never have no good points. So we'll go through all of that as we move along. First of all, Eric Cyril from Facebook says, James Gunn was asked why Kara was irresponsible and didn't think it necessary to tell Superman about his parents. He said, Kara is younger than Superman. Meanwhile, Kara is actually older than Kal-El. She did in fact know his parents and was already a teenager when Krypton was destroyed. Guntards need to educate their savior. This is embarrassing. If you're a James Gunn fan, just look at who you are supporting. He hasn't read a goddamn comic book, which is very true. Kal-El has always been the older cousin of Kal-El. Now, Kara Zor-El, that is. Now, having said that, though, there are Superman comics and lore where Kara, even though she's older than Kal, she was cryogenized or whatever, or she was locked up in Apocalypse or wherever, and she comes back to Earth, and Kal has to protect her, right? So there are different versions of Kara Zor-El, to be honest with you, many different versions of her. So it's James Gunn probably took liberties to do that, but yes, we're used to Kara Zor-El being the older cousin of Kal-El. That's the classic Superman ideology. So I'm tired of hearing dumb guntards, particularly now. DC fans say that, they found that Doomsday looked like a Ninja Turtle and, he should have had the spikes. And they don't realize that, first of all, Doomsday in Batman v Superman was formed in a day. That the Doomsday they normally know, who came from Krypton, had been around for thousands of years. He just was buried in the earth and released. So that's why he had the spurs and everything. But the origins of Kal-El, the origins of Doomsday, more like this. This is what he originally looked like. And they kept on killing him and bringing him back, killing him and bringing him back, which the Doomsday that was in BVS, though his origins are not the origins of the original Doomsday, it was from Zod, his body, Kryptonian. This metamorphosis happened. This Doomsday was brought about by electrical energy surges. Even so, this Doomsday is evolving, just like Doomsday when he first was created and it was evolving. So it's kind of surprising to see how disturbingly ignorant these so-called fans are. They try to make things sound like, Zack Snyder made a mistake or something with Doomsday, but he didn't. So this is Doomsday as he's evolving. This is him. He's building. You see the spurs coming out his back. You see the spurs coming to him. And you have a couple more bone spurs, add a couple more bone spurs to Doomsday. He looks like the Doomsday from the comics. So let me just show you something here if I can find it. I'm thinking if I have it or not. I should have it. I should have it. Just don't know where I put it. I should have it. Doomsday. Currently don't see what I'm looking for. I'm gonna find it. I just don't know where exactly it is at present. Oh yeah, I just saw something here. Let's see this. New. So I wanted to show you a comic book version of Doomsday, but apparently, I thought I downloaded it, but oh, there it is. All right. So here's Doomsday. And if you look at this Doomsday and then you look at Doomsday himself, they both look about the same, right? It's just that there's more bone spurs on this Doomsday. And I think there was a comic book fan who actually added the spurs to Doomsday and BVS and showed if he was to evolve further and he was to get more strength, he would have more spurs. They even gave you in BVS the origins of the spurs, that every time he got injured, he would evolve these spurs. These spurs would start happening and he would emit a whole bunch of energy to sort of regenerate, and the spurs came out. Now, with respect to Superman's box office, Superman's currently sitting in 2025 at $503 million, they say. I don't know. By now, it should be much more than that. Let me see what the total is looking at. This is domestically, of course. There was an announcement that, Superman had surpassed Man of Steel domestically, but that is unadjusted for inflation they're talking about. Okay, so this is Superman in Box Office Mojo, and currently sits at 506.5 or 507, roughly $507 million worldwide. That is what Superman is standing at right now. Domestically, it is at 292, about 292 million. Internationally, it's at 214 million. Okay. Now, at this same point in time, Man of Steel, when you adjust it for inflation, was at $405 million domestically. Internationally, I'm not sure what it was. I think it was like, sorry. Yes. Internationally, it was like maybe 500 and something million, because the bulk of the run for these movies, this fourth weekend, that's it. The bulk of the run for this movie would have been long since made by the end of this week. So the end of this week for us is Emancipation Day. Emancipation Day is on Friday. So this movie doesn't really have much more to go. This is effectively its balance, plus or minus maybe $50,000. It's basically at the end of its run, just like how I think that Jurassic World, sure I'm spelling this correctly, but I think Jurassic World is also at the end of its run as well. And it sits at 721 million. So I think Jurassic World is going to make much more money than that. It may end up at 750 million, but it's not going to make $1 billion. So Jurassic World has fallen short of what it normally makes at the box office. In terms of Jurassic World movies, I think this is probably the least. It's made, Jurassic World 2015 made what did it say? $1.7 billion. Jurassic World Dominion made $1 billion. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, that made $1.3 billion. Lost World Jurassic Park, that's the original Jurassic Park movie, that made $618 million. So this is one of the lower performing Jurassic World movies. So the pundits that said out there that Jurassic World would not make $1 billion, they were right. There are no $1 billion movies this year so far. I think the closest to $1 billion movie we got, it's not a comic book movie, excuse me, in the cinemas was Lilo and Stitch. I think Lilo and Stitch, hold on, I'll tell you. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch broke $1 billion. All right, but Lilo and Stitch opened to, what did they open to? Lilo and Stitch opened to $146 million, but its box office was just extremely strong, and it cruised all the way up to. Let me see domestically. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch. The second weekend, or is this still the first weekend? So it's Memorial Day weekend. It ended up at $182 million for Memorial weekend. So it opened really big and strong. Second weekend, it made 61 million, a drop of 57.7, and third weekend, it made $32 million, and then in its fourth weekend, it made $15 million. But internationally, while it made 300 and whatever you see there, internationally it made more than it did domestically, and that's why it is where it is. So it's overall made $420 million domestically, and almost $600 million internationally, and that's ridiculous. Now remember, the first 4 weeks are what we're looking at. So the first 4 weeks, it made $367 million. That's a lot of money in the first 3 weeks domestically. Right? Internationally, it probably made more than that. So it was like probably was cruising around by the fourth weekend. You're talking about like $800 and something million already, and then it kind of creeped from there and got itself to 420 million after 10 weeks, which is really impressive. Very impressive. Okay. With respect to Minecraft, the movie. Minecraft, the movie, got close to $1 billion, but has not made $1 billion. Right? Minecraft, the movie, did very well. 423 million domestically, internationally 531 million, and it's topped out at 955 million. Its opening weekend, it had a massive opening weekend. Hold on. Yeah, it had a massive opening weekend of $163 million. It had a first weekend drop of 51.8%. That's really, really good for a second weekend. I got it to 278 million domestically. It started off at 162 million and it got to 278 million within the second week. In the third week, it was already at 343 million. So I mean, this was just flying low. And then by the fourth week, it slowed down 379 million. And then in the fifth week, 398 million, 408 million. It is now sitting it's 13 weeks in the cinema. I don't know why they kept them so long in the cinema though. It's at 423 million. Like they're trying to milk it. It's not doing anything since week 10. So it's been in the cinemas, but it's not been doing shit in the cinemas, right? I don't know why they still have it in the cinema. They should pull it from cinemas right now. Yeah, so it did very, very well. Minecraft, the movie. They need to pull it out of cinemas. I don't know why they're keeping it in cinemas. This movie's run its course. It's not making any extra money right now. But that did very, very well. So you see that Superman's nowhere in the league of these movies, but nonetheless, it is what it is. F1 the movie is actually at a loss. It made it's 300 million it took to make this movie. So this movie needs to make somewhere in the vicinity of $700 to $800 million to break even. Maybe even more than that. So yeah, that's F1 the movie. So they made a loss on that. And Superman currently stands at 506 million. It's the problem with Superman is its budget, right? We all know Warner Brothers is lying about the budget being 225 million. It's nowhere near that. Even Man of Steel, they said it was 225, but we go from 225 to 258 million because it's somewhere in between there. And Superman somewhere between 225 million and 363 million because you have tax write-offs and sponsorships. I assume that it's somewhere in between there, right? So to be modest, Superman has to make somewhere around like 735 million to 814 million to break even. That's my thoughts on that movie. It's not going to make anything near that. The bottom end of the spectrum, if you take everything at face value, like what Warner Brothers is saying, it needs to make 563 million to break even. And I don't know if it's going to do that either. So we'll see. I don't know. It's close to the end of its run. It may make that amount, but that still will not account for it breaking even necessarily, because like I said before, it's somewhere in the middle. It's to break even, because the budget was so big. To break even, you're talking about something like about 735 million thereabouts is a safe number. In other words, what Grace Randolph was saying, it needs to beat the Batman. It needs to beat Man of Steel. And I don't see it. I don't see it doing either of those things. It needs to beat the Batman or Man of Steel to actually be a profitable movie. But Warner Brothers is going to move ahead with James Gunn's failed universe. It basically has failed on its beginning. Critically, it didn't fail, but otherwise, it has failed. And he's going to have a second flop. And that's why I said, and I maintained it. We knew this movie was going to flop. No matter what anybody said, we knew this movie was a flop, right? Man of Steel is not a flop, okay? Man of Steel in today's terms would have grossed overall, while this movie had made 506 million worldwide, Man of Steel in its third weekend I believe it made 700 and something million. So Man of Steel in today's dollars with inflation and everything, I think $769 million, I think Man of Steel would have made when this made 500 and whatever it was. So Man of Steel pretty much made its money. It needed to make, I think it's 840 million. It was at 769 or something like that million at the point. It would eventually surpass 840 million, make 900, and I can't remember what the number is. I think 932, something like that, 932 million. But anyway, the point I'm making is Superman is nowhere in this equation. There's nowhere in the conversation as a profitable movie or as anything. Remember, James Gunn had said the DCEU would be over. So the reason those movies flopped, in addition to them being terrible movies, was also because James Gunn said the DCU is going to come to an end. So he started this new universe, but his new universe Superman movie is a flop. It is a flop off the get-go. You're talking about a failed universe from the get-go. This is not a profitable movie. This cost Warner Brothers hundreds of millions of dollars, because it's not just it's not just the budget, but it's also the marketing and the push that Warner Brothers put behind this movie. They put a lot of push behind it, a lot of marketing, a lot of social media. They paid a lot of shills and bots and so on to market this film. They paid YouTubers to market this film. So they spent a lot of money trying to market Superman, and they failed to make the movie even break even. And I can categorically say that now, after the third week, that this movie is not going to break even. I can say that now. I know it's going to be a failure. It has up its sleeve probably an extra 50 to 60 million, but that's about it. It ain't got nothing else going for it. And so it's about to shut down, and it's going to be a flop. And all this hoopla and rah rah and Warner Brothers, James Gunn's universe is the first supposedly James Gunn movie. No matter how they try to PR spin it, is a flop. And it's not going to make Man of Steel numbers. It's not going to make the Batman numbers. And so financially, now the thing about it is, here's the joke about this. Warner Bros. Is trying to create the optics that somehow this movie succeeded when we know it failed. So they're trying to create the optics for that, right? Meanwhile, not only did this movie fail worse than The Flash, it cost Warner Brothers probably more than $400 million. This one movie. So James Gunn in totality probably cost Warner Brothers over $500 million. And the only reason Warner Brothers is going along with James Gunn is because they hope that that Disney would buy DC and DC and Marvel will work together. They want to sell off DC to Marvel. And James Gunn just has to kind of make it look appetizing to Marvel. So that's what they want to do, really. And, Superman's a disaster. Disastrous, to put it lightly. It is going to be less profitable than Justice League 2017, which was a $300 million movie. This movie is closer to $300 million and probably maybe even past $300 million. It depends. I don't know. They had tax write-offs. They had sponsorship. So I don't know the exact number. But this movie is going to land. It's going to have performed worse than Justice League 2017. Justice League 2017 still cost the studio $100 to $200 million. This movie's going to cost the studio, I believe, in excess of $600 million. In excess of $400 million when all is said and done. And I think the Suicide Squad cost them about $200 million more. So we're talking about James Gunn costing the studio $600 million. Not to mention all the flops that preceded that. So in totality, James Gunn's reign and James Gunn's direction has cost the studio maybe a billion, maybe 1.2, 1.3 billion dollars. When all is said and done. Cost the studio. Okay. So that's just the start of things, though. Let's get to cooking, because Restore the Snyderverse is a real thing. So here I have this little graph here. So Aquaman actually blessed the studio with $1.15 billion. Batman v Superman, $874 million. This is not adjusted for inflation. Wonder Woman made $823 million. It was a very profitable film with Aquaman. Things were really starting to kick into gear. Suicide Squad was also a very profitable film, even though it is the studio version of what David Ayer really did, which we would love to see, but I'm not pushing for it because David Ayer sold us out. Man of Steel made $670 million, and Superman stands at $506 million right now, which it will not catch up to Man of Steel. I don't care what anybody says. This is not catching up to Man of Steel. It's lost enough steam. It's going to stop somewhere at $550 million, probably, maybe $560 million. But it's not going to get any further than that. And they could keep it in cinemas, and the longer they keep it in cinemas, the less profitable it'll be. The Lost Kingdom 2023 had $435 million, Black Adam at $393 million. In other words, what I'm saying to you is this movie's a flop, along with all the other trash movies in the DCEU that were Marvelized. And the direction that the studio is going is disastrous. It's only hurting the DC brand, which is why Todd McFarlane, as they're ending making toys with their contract, they pushed out BVS toys and they pushed out Zack Snyder Justice League toys, and they got fans to donate up to get that line running so that they could sell off toys to everybody else. And I say this to say, they know. Todd McFarlane knows where the demand in merchandise is, and it's with the Snyderverse. It's with these series of movies, Man of Steel, BVS, particularly Ultimate Edition, the Suicide Squad, which is what birthed Harley Quinn, and everybody's all a Harley Quinn fan. Even though it's Studio Squad, it's still Wonder Woman, okay? And that's it. Not even because, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, of course. Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's where the money's at. It's not in the Aquaman movie because we saw what happened to the sequel. It's not really in Wonder Woman movie, even though the Wonder Woman movie was a very good movie. The ending was changed, but it was a very good movie. Aquaman was not a very good movie, but Wonder Woman was a very good movie. But Aquaman benefited from the momentum and the fact that released the Snyder Cut movement. Jason Momoa was aligned with that, so it got friendly remarks by the Snyderverse fans and the Snyderverse movement. I thought they changed up the movie, and I said it and I exposed it, everything. I mean, this is after the fact. Everybody was looking at me like, no, this is the one to go with. And I was like, no, this is shit. And so it benefited from the goodwill of the Snyderverse. And it was the first movie from an original director from the Snyderverse to break $1 billion. So it wasn't a better movie than Wonder Woman. It was not a better movie than Zack Snyder Justice League. It was not a better movie than BVS or Man of Steel. But it benefited from the momentum. People were getting used to this universe, and now Aquaman kind of produced something that was at the pinnacle of it. And but by then they had already course corrected. They changed up Aquaman, and obviously Justice League was a failure because they course corrected. And since then, every single movie, including Shazam, has not been as successful as Warner Brothers wanted, and I'm basically been flopping. Every single movie since then, except for movies not affiliated with the universe, like Joker was an outlier, The Batman was an outlier. You know what I mean? But every other DC movie has flopped since then. And James Gunn's movie is no exception. And surprise, surprise. Are we surprised about that? No, we're not surprised about that. We're not surprised at all. Now, all of these doomsdays, whether it's in Smallville, whether it's in Superman, I thought the best looking doomsday was in BBS. Say what you want. You can call it a Ninja Turtle. You can call it a troll from Lord of the Rings. I don't think so. And the more I watch at BBS and I see his powers and his abilities, of course, he could emit an electrical discharge, kind of like laser rays, because he was from a Kryptonian, and the Kryptonian had those features on Earth. So he ended up with those features. But I thought the best looking one was Doomsday. And they literally, Todd McFarlane even has toys that look like that. And I'm going to show you right now the toys. So they actually have Doomsday as a toy. And Todd McFarlane actually has Doomsday as a toy. And here it is. Let's see if I can see it better. Can't see it very well right now. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So that's Doomsday there. He doesn't have much bone spurs on this one. Of course, they should have interchanging arms because you remember this arm here grew out into a spear-like, sort of spur-like thing. He's not as big as he was in the movie. He's much bigger than Superman. So Todd McFarlane didn't get that down packed either. But look at the skull structure and everything. You can see that Doomsday can definitely be like the Doomsday in the comics. And here he is from the back. You see some of the bone spurs. They didn't really put out a lot of the protruding bone spurs as they should have, but it's all good. So you can see that's the Doomsday. And to me, it's the best looking Doomsday I've seen. And here is the collection of them. Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Doomsday. Doomsday's not much bigger than them though. He was way bigger than them in the movie. He was way bigger than them in the movie, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. See if I can get this from Instagram here to show you guys. There he is again. Again, he doesn't have all the bone spurs on him, but really fantastic, man. Okay, so let me get to what we're supposed to be talking about, right? All right, the most cringy line ever said in the MCU. My time to shine. Hello. Ask that question. And Release the Snyder Cut. Shout out to Release the Snyder Cut. Is very active on here. I am as human as anyone. I get scared. I wake up every morning, and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other and try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time, but that's being human. That's my greatest strength. So this is Superman actually saying this cringe stuff, this cringe dialogue to Lex Luthor. He's yelling it actually, which is really retarded. And first of all, it's not really up to Superman to say that. That's for someone else to say, you know. You know how it is. All right, now let me enlighten you guys on a discussion that was going on where they're talking about how Superman did nothing in BVS to save the people, which is weird because Superman stood by, did nothing when Krypto was ripping apart Lex Luthor. He just kept on telling Krypto to stop. He did nothing when the Justice Gang was killing the kaiju. He did nothing when Lex Luthor shot a guy in the head. So I'm not sure, you know, I mean, at least with BVS, Superman couldn't see because, you know, the thing was lined with lead, so he couldn't see through the lead. But anyway, here is Marka sharing with us a brother who explains this so very well, the courtroom scene. Let's get to it.
Fast. We talking about the courtroom again. Y'all still don't understand that scene? Oh my goodness, these movies was too much for y'all, man. The cinema literacy is horrible, bro. Y'all are cinema illiterate, man. Let's read this comment. Bro, he looks at the wheelchair. LMAO. Go watch the movie again, man. He reacts to a high-pitched ringing and looks over at the chair, sees the explosion happen, and stand there in the same... Bro, y'all don't understand how fast Superman is. Y'all don't understand how much faster the Flash is. Y'all don't understand how their powers work in these movies. But first, let's deal with the aura farming claim, right? People like to say he was standing there aura farming. Let's get context, because clearly y'all weren't paying attention to the movie. He's getting destroyed by people for saving people, so he goes to talk to a...
But they see what you do, and they know who you are. You're not a killer, a threat. I never wanted this world. Be their hero. Be their monument. Be their angel. Be anything they need you to be. Or be none of it. You don't know this world a thing. You never did.
So he is getting killed in the media for saving people. He goes and asks his mom what to do. His mom tells him the same thing Pa Kent told him in that garage. He tells him, be their hero or don't. The choice is yours. What does he choose? To go show up at the courthouse, follow their rules, trust their process, trust their system. And by the way, look how many people he's about to have to watch get incinerated. But let's continue.
We create a free and
He's starting to notice something weird. looks what she looks. That is not horrifying. He could have sold it better maybe, but that is devastation. It's not horrifying. It's devastation. And real quick, for those of you who say he didn't save anybody, oh, would you look at that? Do you think that's the first woman he brought out? Or did he probably bring out most of them? In shock.
Bam. Turn yourself to the head end. Just follow my light.
Devastated. This was all my fault. Pa warned me. Because of my existence, he's going to get people. But I chose to save people anyway.
Remember, his mother helped him make a choice. She said, you don't owe this world anything. You could be their hero or not be their hero. He chose to be humanity's hero. Follow what Jor-El, his Kryptonian father, told him. And his mother was encouraging him to make a choice. So he went to the meeting. He did what he thought was right. And this was the result. That's why it was so sad. That's why Superman was shaking his head when the bomb went off. He was disappointed in himself. He was also disappointed that when he tried to do the right thing, when he tried instead to go out there and be whatever humanity wanted him to be. Remember, this is the decision he made. He made, I'm going to go to this hearing. I'm going to submit myself to humanity. And this happened. And he's now double guessing himself and saying, suppose I didn't go to this thing. This wouldn't happen. This wouldn't have happened. All right. I thought I'd put that in. All right, guys. Here we go.
I didn't see it, Laura. Standing right there, I didn't see it.
Clark, there are people behind this.
I'm afraid I didn't see it because I wasn't looking.
He was trusting the system. He didn't go in there suspicious and scanning the whole room.
I've been living my life the way my father saw it.
Trying to be their hero like his father wanted him to be.
Thinking I'm here to do good. Superman was never real. Just the dream of a farmer from Kansas.
That farmer's dream is all some people have. It's all that gives them hope. This means something.
It did on my world. My world doesn't exist anymore.
Now, I hope that explains a little bit something to y'all who maybe was saying he was aura farming or blah, blah, blah. But let's deal with the people who said he could have done something about it. Let's deal with y'all, because y'all wasn't paying attention. Now, for some reason, y'all think whenever the Flash runs, he's always running as fast as he can. For some reason, y'all think if the Flash needs to move somebody from point A to point B, he can keep moving at the same speed. For some reason, y'all think that, but y'all say y'all watched the movie. But let's look. 30, 40 miles per hour. Less than that. Seems to be flying through there. The flash is running. And this car that was going like 30, 40 miles per hour is still moving while he's running. Okay? Slowed it down. Then completely freeze it. So how much faster than that car is an explosion? You tell me. I'm just
singing eyes and fingers drew me loving to your eyes. Did I dream you dreamed about me? Were you here when I was forced out? Now my foolish boat is leaning.
Pay attention. He is not moving her like this for no reason. Pay attention.
Here I am. Here I am.
Moving her, because this is a more realistic take. You can't just move a human at super speeds. Can't do that. Y'all, that is a car accident. Car accident. Like at the most, she was going like 30 miles per hour, and the car is still moving. And he has to move that slow to get her to the ground safely. And I'm not just making this up. All this physics is baked into the movie. Zack Snyder has talked about it. But if you don't believe me, if you can't do the comparative math in your head, then let's just ask Chat. Let's go. Even if Superman moved as fast as Barry does in the Iris scene, he could not save the entire room once the bomb detonates. Mind you, he could not see it beforehand. He did not have enough time to react. Because moving people safely at that speed requires time and delicate handling. And the explosion wave hits in milliseconds. So unless he knew about the bomb before detonation and began moving people pre-blast, even flash level speed isn't enough to save everyone. Not when maneuvering safely is required. Lex has studied Superman. He made this bomb specifically for Superman. He made it the way he did so that it would work. That's the point. If Superman was fat, come on, bro. Do y'all get it? Please tell me y'all get it. If for some strange reason you still don't get it and you need something explained and you got questions, go ahead and ask, brother. Go ahead and ask. But keep it respectful, because I like both of these movies. And if you keep nitpicking and disrespecting the other movie I like, I'm going to expose your boy. I'm going to expose him. I'm going to give him that work. Because only one of these Supermen got beat up by a terrorist that came to Metropolis and then ran away to go heal, leaving Metropolis to fend for itself. Only one of these Supermen do that. So look, hey, I like the movie. I will shield my eyes. But don't stop playing with Man of Steel. Well, I'm gonna have to do your boy dirty. Woman is probably the last person he saved. What are we doing here, bro? Like, and your other points are dumb too. Like, he's actively participating in the destruction. He throws Zod through the buildings too. Where?
So first of all, he's addressing another hater here who said that Superman only saved one woman from the Capitol bombing because he sees Superman flying with one woman. And then he's saying how, Superman did all this destruction porn on Metropolis, which is not true at all. But anyway, he's going to address it now. Listen up.
In the last fight, the worst he does is drag Zod face across the building. I had to switch locations, but let's say he was destroying buildings. Let's assume that Man of Steel, Superman and Man of Steel, he was destroying buildings with people in it and being reckless. Let's assume that for a second. I got a surprise for you. Do you get it? Do you get it? Cause this how we gotta spoon feed you your media. Do you get it now? Now what he does in the animated series is way worse. Way worse than what he does in Man of Steel. Man of Steel looks like the most caring about destruction Superman that ever graced the screen compared to the animated series. If you hate Man of Steel, you probably just hate Superman. I ain't gonna lie to you. Now the Fantastic Four is officially... We talking about the courtroom again. Y'all still don't understand that scene? Bro, if you look at this scene, if you read this scene, and because you see him only carry one person out, you think he only saved one person. It's no helping you, bro. I can't lie to you. It's nothing we can do to save this guy. He's a lost cause. What do you thinking happened? Do you think the bomb went off? He stood there in the courtroom while all this stuff happened out there eventually. You know, that probably took like 20 minutes. And then he comes and brings out this girl after all those people have already been saved by what, firefighters and stuff? Is that what you think happened? Because if you do, then back to media illiteracy. Like, what are you talking about? That woman is probably the last person he saved. What are we doing here, bro? Like, and your other points are dumb too. Like, he's actively participating in the destruction. He throws Zod through the buildings too. Where? In the last fight, the worst he does is drag Zod face across the building. I had to switch locations, but let's say
All right. Israel's top news anchor scolded by right-wing pundits for calling starvation in Gaza a moral failure. That's crazy. Let me just say, there's a rising consensus within Israel and around the world that what is being done is wrong and an atrocity. Even people in Israel are calling it now. The major anchor for Israeli television calls it a moral failure. There's no stopping us now. Free Palestine.
لا والله الحرب احنا متحملين بس مش متحملين الجوع لما نروح على التركي بالعافية بعبنا بنحارب بصير فينا كل حاجة بالعافية.
I have to ask your last question because your staff is telling us. Do you think AIPAC should register as a foreign lobby?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that I know plenty of people who think they should. Mm-hmm. I
It's
don't.
kind of a cop-out answer, don't you think?
I mean,
Yeah.
I literally, I just guess I'd have to look at the definition. I certainly have had my tough moments with that organization. And
So you stop accepting their funding?
you gotta get your facts straight. I have not been endorsed by AIPAC. I'm sorry. I was the first Jew
You were
elected to the Senate that was not endorsed by any Jewish group. AIPAC, J Street.
You've been the recipient of their funds.
In 2018, when I first ran, people who were members, yes, but I've not been endorsed since then. And I just got to be honest, like, I think that this is where facts really matter. I've had very, very difficult conversations with my colleagues in that organization and made a choice back in 2021. So that was the first time I was up for re-election. So I understand that there's a sort of like, again, cornered position, but to me, like, I call balls and strikes as someone who served in the Middle East.
I have one more question I have to ask you. You know, we do the show. I really do my best to try to uphold, like, you know, basic human rights, Palestinian humanity, oppose the killing of innocent civilians wherever that happens. And I have to tell you, like, I feel really guilty that I'm not doing enough. I think all the time about, I'm a mom, I think all the time about those moms who can't feed their babies. Those babies are starving to death. And I just want to know, like, you're a United States Senator, you did vote for some of the bombs that were dropped on refugee camps. The kids have been sniped in the head, tents firebombed, people set on fire. The entire Gaza Strip turned into rubble. And now we're seeing these emaciated bodies of babies starving to death every day. And I mean,
I know what you can do.
Does it eat you up? Does it eat you up? Do you think, like, what more could I do? Do you regret any of your votes? Do you
let me
regret
tell
any
you what
sort
I
of
was working on this
complicity?
morning. A group of Jewish rabbis and Muslim community leaders came together with a proposal that we are working on just getting, like, if we can't get other aid in, at least get baby formula and nutritional supplements for children in. Let that be kind of a green light, never has a problem. No one's trying to eat baby formula other than a baby, right? That is the proposal that I've been working on all night and this morning. So in terms of what we're trying to do, there's not a moment that goes by that this isn't something that I'm working on and something that my own community, not online, but my own community has practical things that they want to do. They're willing to raise the money. They're willing to buy the formula. They're willing to do whatever we need to do to get it shipped in. That's how I spend my time.
But you're not willing to cut off aid to Israel.
That to me is the most effective thing that I can do today.
This is a subtle question. Your staff is telling us you absolutely have to go. So we appreciate your time. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
coming.
Senator.
Thank you very much.
Crimes have become so
I woke up
monstrous
this morning and
that even Rosie
just a little
DiMano,
bit
a
of hope
Toronto
in
star,
humanity
one of
has been
Canada's
restored.
most vicious
In a
and
movement
extreme
that is now
supporters of
being
Israel,
dubbed Bottles to
is
Gaza,
condemning
people
Israel's
in Libya,
atrocities against Palestinians. But even now, after all the horrors she recounts in an op-ed today, DiMano continues to spew deranged pro-genocide rhetoric. Claims, for example, that Israel has stood as a beacon of global conscience for nearly 8 decades. She suggests that Israel's conduct in Gaza, which has killed vastly more civilians than Hamas killed on October 7th, is arguably just as deliberate and just as merciless as Hamas attacks on October 7th. DiMano also complains that the condemnation of at the UN is so over the top that the chronic demonization of the only democracy in the Middle East is given scant legitimacy. There's more pro-Israel lunacy sprinkled among her condemnations of Israel. If DiMano thinks that this mea culpa will wash away the stain of her fanatical decades-long support for Israel, she's sorely mistaken. It's far too late for her to rehabilitate her poisonous reputation. I agree. What the fuck is this?
Yo, Superman.
Time about
Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco
What the
are all
fuck?
filling empty water bottles.
So in the movement, Bottles to Gaza, people in Libya, Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria are around the world are filling bottles with rice and baby formula. The people in the adjacent areas are putting it into the sea to float down to Gaza. This is desperation attempts they're trying. Slovenia recognizes Palestine. History is made through action. Supergirl says, not accurate Clark Kent, Superman. And we see how accurate Henry Cavill resembles Clark Kent in a Superman issue in which Clark Kent actually goes on TV. He's not part of the Daily Planet, but he's part of a televised network. My Time to Shine Hello says, give me your honest thoughts on this film, Man of Steel. Let's have a look, shall we? Several outlets, Screen Rant and so on, they asked about BVS and Man of Steel and so on. And they keep on going back to Zack Snyder's stuff. That's how we know that Zack Snyder is the dude. Nolan made it special. He should have stayed on for BVS and Justice League. I say yes because the studio surely dicked around Zack, cutting 30 minutes from BVS just weeks before release. Joey says, great Superman film. Unlike the new movie, this one actually has a lot of heart and soul. Superman's portrayal was comic accurate. The actions is what carries the movie. It was a near perfect Superman movie. The only letdown is the grim, grainy, dark aesthetic, which continued with Batman v Superman. I answered Joey by saying the aesthetic complemented the real world seriousness needed for the film. If everything was flamboyantly colorful, it would not have been taken seriously. The Winter Soldier, Civil War have even more washed out aesthetic to ground us in the reality, and you can see it right there. You notice these are not very colorful movies, right? In fact, I think Man of Steel is more colorful than those movies, to be honest with you. And that's because these movies are grounded in our reality. And I'm surprised that the guy's still talking about washed out, not colorful stuff. I don't get it. I don't get it. Pop Glory says Superman learned to fly and how to demolish a city in one movie. So I asked him. I decided to check him on that. When did Superman demolish a city? It's the same nonsense that they keep talking about Superman all the time. So my response was Christopher Nolan, David Goyer, and Zack Snyder depict a modernized version of Superman that was the most realistic version of the character to date. What if Superman really existed? The dive into this character's origins was both fascinating and emotionally gripping. It is considered a classic. And I cited, just for the record, I cited the comics, the very first Superman comic. As you can see here, his parents adopt young Clark after he was sent to an orphanage. And the love and guidance of his kindly foster parents was to become an important factor in the shaping of the boy's future. Now listen to me, Clark. This great strength of yours, you've got to hide it from people or they will be scared of you. But when the proper time comes, his mother says, you must use it to assist humanity. By the way, in this early issue of Superman by Shyster and by Siegel, his both parents die. And he then becomes Superman after their death. Just an important point I think people should know. David the Batman says, made me a Superman fan. And that was 9 minutes ago. Judges say 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. That's Kal-El of Krypton. Marcelo Andre 934 says, honestly, putting the perspective of what it would be like in real life for a being like Superman to be among us, address the beliefs and consequences that a powerful being like him would bring to humanity, is one of the most sublime motifs of this movie. That is very true. Kind of like Christopher Nolan saying, what if there was a Batman, right? The Wolf X says, Snyder crafted a Superman for a broken modern age. It wasn't just cinema. It was philosophy wrapped in myths. This is true. Koji says, as a fan of books like Superman for Tomorrow, Superman Year One, and Superman Godfall, and specifically the animated film Superman Doomsday, this delivered on all hopes to experience on a Star Wars-like scale. A world, if we had a Superman in it, being who he is, on a learning curve. And remember, this first Superman movie wasn't a Superman movie. It was the formation of Superman. At the end of the movie, we see Superman. But all the way through the movie, we're learning Clark's journey. We're learning of Clark's background. We're learning of Clark's purpose. So Man of Steel was the origin story for Superman, just like how Wonder Woman was the original story for Wonder Woman, just like how Batman Begins was the original story for Batman. You know, we hadn't had those, right? So to me, Man of Steel was a great movie because it set up Superman. It set up the paradigms under which Superman operates. Manjo Matthews said sci-fi and CB blending done so well with gripping action sequences. Okay. Omega Caleb Farfam says epic. Goats, goat, 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 diamond, diamond. Odd Origin says love it 100. Okay. Danny says masterpiece. As says genuine masterpiece that won't ever be beaten for quality in terms of box office. Considering it jumps over 200% in views on Max, I think the studios knew exactly what the audience feels when it comes to Man of Steel. It's a lot better than James Superman. I can honestly say I'm glad I'm not in the generation that's so hyperactive that they have to squirrel their way through a 2-hour-long movie just to be entertained, whereas Man of Steel has depth for you to grasp on. See, there you go. I'm pretty sure he's not a Snyder fan or anything. Art Barillas says the best comic book movie ever made. Wow. But you have to be grown up and a parent to fully understand that. I wouldn't say that. I'm grown up for sure, but I'm not a parent. DC Life says the most Superman looking Superman to me. Love the comic accurate portrayal of power levels. Beautifully filmed movie. I understand that it was Nolanish take, but wish it wasn't so door. Wish there was a Man of Steel sequel to help this verse breathe more. I want to see what the response was. Downward Facing Triangle says, I respectfully disagree. The DC comics have always been better suited to a mature audience, often having deep, darker themes. This presentation was perfect for the tone of DC movies of the time. Leave the younger audiences and cartoons to Marvel. I too respectfully disagree. The Marvel tends to lean more on the pop art side of CB. DC isn't just dark and door. Man of Steel was to me WB milking the Nolan Dark Knight success and trying to differentiate DCU from the MCU, and realized that it didn't connect with the masses when it relates to all DC IPs. I disagree again. I'm going to type out, I respectfully disagree that the character of Superman in this grounded universe was door or dark. It was realistic. It was the most realistic depiction of Superman we ever had. It is a what if Superman were real and existed among us. Civil War and Winter Soldier are similar. Let me see if I can find them here. Yeah. Let's show them Winter Soldier first. Civil War. And then we have Superman. Okay. It wasn't door at all. It's just realistic. It's real. That's the most realistic fantasy story Zack Snyder's ever done, he said. And he also said that it was, a real take on Superman. The world is like our world, except, inspiring that we as people can get through hard times and become better versions of ourselves, hopeful and uplifting. Yep. 8 out of 10. A much better film than people on Twitter will tell you. Fantastic action, a beautiful score by Hans Zimmer, great cinematography, a lineup of A-list actors that bring good performances. While it's not perfect, there's a ton about this film to like. It is a very passionate and emotional. Every chance it to tug at your heartstrings. It does. It truly embodies the Man of Steel. A great first contact film, but not a good Superman film in my opinion. This is a Superman fan. There are good character moments like the scene of Martha helping Clark to control his powers, Jonathan telling Clark he will always be his son. The film has amazing visuals and awesome action, but this interpretation of Superman isn't my favorite, but I admire what Zack Snyder was trying to do. And there is, of course, a response to that. I did not like that they spent so much time on the origin story. Should have developed Superman as a hero doing hero things like saving people and averting national disasters. When Zod came, no one knew who he was. Should have found another way to end it without killing Zod. This is a Superman origin film. Because of this film, we learn who Clark was before he became Superman and what challenges he faced. Okay. Very good movie. Could have been great. It was good for a normal moviegoer, but for a comic book fan, it's a bit lacking in terms of characterization. Same with BVS. I don't know what this guy is talking about. Again, I wonder if these people even read comic books, because if you have read comic books, you wouldn't say something like that. I think these people are so heavily brainwashed by Marvel, they cannot see the layers of depth in it. For example, Trey says it's a great sci-fi first contact film, but not a good Superman film in my opinion. And his reasons are, well, Superman's not saving people and so on. And I'm like, dude, this movie is about the creation of Superman. This movie is not about Superman. You're talking about an established Superman. This is about how Superman comes to be in our world. Why is it that Trey can't understand this? Why is it that whatever this guy's name is, he can't understand this? Not only that, but here's the other thing. He's talking about it lacks in terms of characterization. That is the stupidest statement you could ever possibly make, because if you do not know what the story of Man of Steel is, which is the journey of Clark to become Superman, if you can't understand that that's what that movie was, and then BVS is about the world coming to terms with the fact that Superman is a good person, he means well, and that he's doing things in their best interest, right? Because the world obviously has, like our world, it wouldn't trust Superman, right? This is the early stories of Superman. When Superman died, that made a big difference. That's when people realized, oh, a world without Superman is not as good as a world with Superman, right? Okay. Best Superman film, and it's not close. Says release the haircut. Overhated. It's not perfect, but dang, it's a fun movie to watch. I still really enjoy it. Mr. Know-It-All. This should be interesting. Actually did a video response. That's how far these people are. This is how invested they are in Man of Steel. Whether they hate Man of Steel or they like Man of Steel, they take time out of what they're doing to make a video on this. That's how impactful this movie has been. You could say it's negatively impactful, positively impactful, whatever you think. This movie was deep enough to cause this kind of level of discussion. To this day, this is a 12-year-old film, mind you, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to Mr. Know-It-All. I don't know what he's going to say. We're going to listen.
Honestly, I thought it was great. I didn't have a problem with it. I really didn't.
I thought it was a good start. I always thought it was kind of dour, and the Zack Snyder isms became a little bit like over time. You get over it quick, but I liked the story. I liked the pacing. I thought what it did and told was good. I did think the decimation of Metropolis was a little bit excessive. And I also was one of the people who didn't like him breaking his neck thing. But I mean, I got it in story. Like, I understood why they did it. I just didn't like it. But it didn't ruin the movie for me. I'm not against the Man of Steel. I liked it a lot. I wish DC could have got their crap together back in the day and actually completed a thing and done more with it. It would have been great to have seen a second movie finally. That just never happened. So what are you gonna do? Honestly.
Okay, so this is what he said, and now I personally think that some of the stuff that he has an issue with is just him, right? Because Superman not only snapped Zod's neck, Superman exposed Zod and they to kryptonite and they died. Superman has killed Zod multiple times in the comics in all kinds of inventive ways. Okay. In Superman issue number 1 in 1939, Superman takes a military person who was torturing some other prisoners, and he flings him through the air like in Black Adam, how Black Adam flung the guy. And the guy falls, he goes screaming and he falls to his death. That's Superman issue number 1. That's the first comic in which you're introduced to Superman. Okay? So a lot of people do not know Superman. They know of Superman. They know they know Superman through the Christopher Reeve movies particularly. And then they measure everything up to the Christopher Reeve movies. So I don't think this guy, even though he's got comics in the background there, I don't think he really knows Superman. Because nothing that Zack Snyder did, yes, he changed some of the lore. Like, for example, the suit wasn't made by him or by his mother. It was, the origin of the suit came from Krypton. There's a very smooth explanation to different things. I'm talking about snapping Zod's neck. Dude, Superman will do whatever needs to be done to protect mankind. That's just Superman. But he's very hesitant to kill. Duh. Okay? And you see that consistency throughout. In BVS, he kills Doomsday, but he tried everything in his power not to kill Doomsday. You remember when Doomsday came out, he pushed Doomsday into outer space. It was the stupid humans who decided to nuke both of them. But Superman was succeeding in punching Doomsday out into outer space, and he was going to push him all the way out into outer space and leave him out there. Right? He wasn't trying to kill Doomsday. But as things wound down, he realized he had to kill Doomsday, so he did it. Superman is hesitant to kill. He did not kill Batman. He was hesitant to kill Batman. So to tell me Superman snapping General Zod's neck bothered you, well, it was a realistic depiction of Superman, so you would feel some sort of way. It wasn't a pleasant experience for Superman either. He yelled and bawled in quite distress. He was killing his own blood almost. It's his own people. To save humanity, So you have to understand how Shakespearean that is, how, extreme that is. So yeah, and Zack did it in such a way that it would feel uncomfortable. See, Zack does not immune the fans watching a movie from consequence. Everything has consequence to it. Fighting a superpowered villain and his entire team has consequence to it. There's damage done. But most of that damage wasn't done by Superman. It was done by Zod. So him saying it's over the top, that's kind of hypocritical, seeing that you watched a lot of Sunday morning cartoons. You just didn't feel the realism of them as you felt the realism of Superman and the feelings of 9/11 and the feelings of a catastrophe happening. All right, Zack was able to get you uncomfortable enough to experience that and not like it. Another thing that I thought was very interesting was seeing, and he even makes a comment on this, uncomfortable choices. choices that have to be made, but they're uncomfortable. I think that's what Zack Snyder confronted in Man of Steel, in BVS, and in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And to me, the amount of sacrifice in these movies that these heroes have, and even the heroes that die in these movies, is immeasurable. It's just great, and it's so real. The thing about Zack Snyder's movies, even though we know they're fantasy movies somewhat and sci-fi, is they're so real. They hit home really hard. And I think a lot of people don't like being uncomfortable in the cinema, and Zack makes you uncomfortable when you watch his movies. He's not going to give you everything, and he's definitely not going to cut corners when it comes to consequence. Okay, so it was interesting hearing Mr. Know-It-All give his feeling. I'm going to actually like that. Feels like I've been seeing the same Steel post all week in multiple accounts. Yep. The best Superman movie of all time. Story, visuals, music score, God level. It's the best Superman film for me. The cinematography, the scenery tone, the acting, I liked everything. And these are not Snyder fans, by the way. I have a vivid memory of my first watch thinking, damn, Henry Cavill's kind of weird. He played an alien very well. It's incredible. It was so good. It's misunderstood. It's good. More of a manly film. The new one seems too Looney Tunes cartoony. Overhated on the socials, solid Superman movie. You don't need to justify if you like a piece of media. Bigger box office than Superman. Well, that goes without saying. Man of Steel has rejuvenated my love back for DC and Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers are foul how they treated Henry Cavill and Zack Snyder. We had a masterpiece, and the damn company ruined a majestic universe. I agree. Just named one of the 12 greatest films made this century. It was genre-defining and established Henry Cavill as the Superman of this generation, as Christopher Reeve was the Superman of that generation. No disrespect to any of the actors who have played Superman before or since, but Henry Cavill's Superman is that dude. The best Superman movie, made the character interesting, compelling, lovable, epic. The Superman of our generation made the world love Superman. His arc needs to be completed, restore the Snyderverse. I agree. And I also agree that it got me back interested in Superman, because I think Brandon Roth tried to do Superman Returns. I was just so disappointed with that movie. And then the series of Superman movies we had, from Superman 3, 4, Supergirl, they weren't good. And then since Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and BVS, Justice League, which was directed by Joss Whedon, not a good Superman movie either. And then we saw Superman and Shazam, was not a nice run of Superman there, Headless Superman. We saw Superman and James Gunn's Peacemaker, again, trashed Superman. We saw him in Flash and looked terrible. The different versions of Superman, Uncanny Valley, terrible. And then we saw him again pop up in Superman 2025, and that's an incoherent mess of a movie. And on top of that, the Superman doesn't feel like a Superman. He feels like something else, but not Superman. You know, he looks like Superman, kind of, a version of Superman, but he doesn't behave like Superman. You know, there are aspects of him that are like Superman, but most of it, no. How many times are you going to ask this? Asked Rebellious. The best Superman film, Perfection. First Flight was one of the greatest moments in CBM. Nolan, Snyder, and Zimmer nailed it. Epic. Zack Snyder defined Superman for a time. Unfortunately, the management didn't agree with the epic. They remodeled everything into a parody. Correct. This guy's got it. The best Superman movie ever. I love it. Though after watching it multiple times, I can now understand the criticism that some have with the muted color palette used in the film. Again, I don't understand these people. If you're doing a fucking real world Superman, Kyle, a real fucking world Superman, the colors are not going to pop like some sort of hyper realistic fucking kaleidoscopic fucking colored fucking clown show, motherfucker. Like a fucking circus. They're not going to pop. And the thing about guys like Kyle is, You say that the fucking Winter Soldier is one of the greatest CBMs. You motherfucker watched The Dark Knight. You motherfucker watched Civil War. All of those motherfucking movies. The color palette that you call it color palette, it's really color grading, but whatever. The color palette is muted, motherfucker. What the fuck is wrong with these stupid people? The story was dope, but his aura farming soups. He's an aura farming soups. He gave me what I needed in terms of wanting Superman to be present as all powerful. The current rendition feels more like a hopeful sign. Every life matters. He's indestructible, no, but bet your ass he's dependable. Dependable doing what, motherfucker? What did that Superman ever do? All he did was save a squirrel. Motherfucker saved a child. That makes him dependable. The motherfucker couldn't stop them from killing the kaiju. He didn't want to kill the kaiju. They killed the kaiju. Motherfucker wasn't in the. He couldn't even fight his clone. His clone was kicking his ass. His ass got kicked by the engineer. What did motherfucker do in the movie? What did he do? Who did he save? The motherfucker was constantly being in need of saving. Either Crypto was saving him, Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific was saving his ass. The Justice Gang is the ones that stopped the war. He couldn't even stop Lex Luthor. But he's dependable? Get the fuck out of here. Absolute cinema. Rodney Dangerfield. Oh man, he took a comedian and said, absolutely. If you pretend it's not Superman, it's a decent superhero movie about a depressed loner alien that can't fit in. Again, it's so stupid. How do you mean he can't fit in? What is he doing in the Daily Planet then? If he can't fit in, what is he doing in the Daily Planet? You fucking stupid ass. I mean, could you be more stupid? But if you take it as it is, which is Superman, it's a disgrace to the character and a disgrace to the characterization and the core values of who Superman is. You fucking idiots. You fucking piece of shit. This movie was about the becoming of Superman. You dumb fuck. Yeah. Best Superman movie. Everyone needs to go back and watch this one. Andy Simmons says, I'm not a big fan. For me, although the acting was good, it was more spectacle and less substance. Wow. He didn't watch the movie, so let's just ignore him. Henry Cavill's Superman. A real movie made with love and respect for the character, not like the shit show gone delivered. Set the bar high with this one, extremely gold standard. Couldn't be made again. I love this movie. Best Superman movie, one of the best CBMs of all time. Legendary masterpiece. Now let's come close to it. A good film. Not perfect, but beautifully filmed and acted. I did not like that they spent so much time on the origin story. Well, Alfred, it's a fucking origin story. Jay Lagos, most epic and respectful movie of the character. Rad Z, masterpiece. That movie inspired this song. Seems as though he made a song of the movie. The Superman of our generation, period. Best Superman movie ever. The best Superman movie after Superman 1978. That's cool. I love to watch, but this Superman is portrayed as a god, sad, depressed, and highly infected with Batman's darkness, unlike in the comics where Superman is light, alien, and non-traumatized. New Superman is not weak, but new at his work, and the opponent is his own clone. You didn't watch Man of Steel. If you did, you watched it with your brain switched off, because there's no way. First of all, Superman being portrayed as a god. Why would you think he's portrayed as a god? This is the most human Superman we've ever had. What are you talking about? He's Joe. He literally is Joe Blow. Literally, they call him Joe in the movie. He's behaving just like a human being. He is helping people everywhere he goes. Didn't know who he was. This is a discovery of who he was and how he became Superman. This is the journey towards Superman. That's what Man of Steel is. Just like Batman Begins. So the fact that your dumb ass can't realize that this is an origin fucking story, just like Wonder Woman was an origin story, just like how Batman had an origin story. This is the origin story of Superman. I can't help you because your comments are so far removed from the movie that we all saw. It makes no sense. And you're hung up on if it's lighthearted and if he's chill and all the stupid shit. I don't understand you stupid motherfuckers. You might as well just go into the cinema. In fact, don't go into cinema. Don't even watch the movie and just write your own story on Man of Steel. Because you weren't paying attention to anything in that movie. Anything in that movie. Beautiful, epic, emotional. Love it. Masterpiece. Epic. The best Superman. Henry Cavill. It was the first Superman film that I loved. Wow. That's a shocker. I liked Superman before that, but it got boring and I expected Superman to be soft all the time. Mr. B. Wayne says, as a Batman guy, this movie made me appreciate Superman on an equal level. Best Superman to date. Music was top tier. Hans Zimmer is the best modern composer in my personal opinion. Comic Acolyte says bloated. Your brain's bloated, bro. Because none of that makes any sense again. This was a streamlined story going in a particular direction. I didn't see anything bloated about it. What bloated means you have many storylines, you have many characters. That didn't happen in this country. This story is focused on Kal-El's journey and on Kal-El. Grant Ya reacts, loves K-pop. Really didn't like the new Superman. People said it was funny. I didn't feel that, but I certainly felt bored. Superman felt too weak and lame to me. Got beaten up the whole time. I know this one didn't present Superman the right way, but as a movie standpoint, this is far better. I don't know what he's talking about, but whatever. I saw it opening night in 2013 and really enjoyed it. You can tell it takes heavy inspiration from Superman Earth 1. Check that series out if you can, by the way. It has some amazing artwork. This guy calls it the GOAT. All killer, no filler. Man of Steel was epic, one of the most epic Superman movies. Masterpiece action sci-fi peak. Best Superman film ever. This has to be made. This had to be made. There would be Superman. There would be no Superman without Man of Steel. Absolute cinema. Was epic, had flaws. However, it's a movie that you can watch again and enjoy. Its score is amazing. The secondary characters as well. Pharaoh was a character that I would like to see more. Luis Ramon says, visually stunning, but ultimately hollow reboot. He said hollow. Well, I can't help you, brother. Can't help you there. I just silent off on that. Fucking masterpiece. It was one of movie. It's an interesting concept, but trying to make an entire movie series universe based on dour, hopeless heroes. It's a terrible idea. 3+ movies of trouble moody Superman would never sell to the masses. I can't help you, brother. One of the best superhero movies I've ever watched. Best Superman movie ever. Powerful messages across the movie, but it is a mess. One of my guilty pleasures, to be honest. A mess? What the fuck are you talking about? Star Wars is great, but the movie I'd give 2 out of 5. Okay, good. A masterpiece. Best Superman movie ever. Top 5 CBM of all time. Wow. It was a good adaptation for what it was going for. Overhated, and in my opinion, the best Superman movie I've gotten today. As a superhero movie, it's not that bad. Dare I say it's unique. As a Superman movie, it fundamentally misunderstands the character. And look what this guy got. He got Man of Steel, and then he got this fucking symbol that I guess means conquer and fuck every woman. It was supposed to be a Kingdom Come Superman logo. And even Kingdom Come Superman, he deserted Earth and all. I don't understand these guys, bro. None of this makes sense. Like, there are some people out here who are either trolling or they really don't know who Superman is. Mr. Shamu, hardcore Superman. All right. It will stand the test of time. No doubt about it, because people keep on asking about it, talking about it. It's a crazy movie. The ECU was designed to be an epic saga like Lord of the Rings, but with tightly interconnected films like Suicide Squad and Aquaman. And the studio heads botched it because they couldn't think outside the Disney MCU box. Dumb. And to this day, they're still doing the same thing. Truth, love, faith. It's amazing how well Zack Snyder overlapped the end of Batman v Superman with the start of Justice League. Check this out, guys.
Secondly, and it's shocking the amount of people don't realize this, cinemas don't put films on out of the goodness of their hearts. They split the revenue with the studios, okay? In the US, studios receive only 50% of the gross, and it's about 30% of the international gross, okay? That means Warner Brothers has not received $502 million at the box office from Superman, okay? That's just what the film made. So let's break it down. The film made $289,501,578 domestically and over $213 million internationally. So when you half the domestic take, you get about $144.7 million. And 1/3 of the international take is about $71 million. So that's about $216 million. So that film has not quite pulled back its production costs. So the film needs also to recoup the marketing costs, as I've mentioned, and that's a further $100 million. And obviously, because of how revenue is split between theaters and studios, the film needs to make a further $200 million in order to recoup that $100 million in marketing costs. This is the reason people said, quite rightly, that Superman needed to make $700 million in order to just break even.
How many civilians were killed on October 7th?
Right?
Secondly, and it's shocking.
They were honestly doing the most immaculate job at building this universe. Unbelievable studio interference. Restore the Snyderverse. Unfortunately, that was not part of the shooting script. Ayer's final act was fire, though. We need the script in full. Way better movie. And Reese Snyder Cut was talking about, the end of Wonder Woman, where you see in the blooper reels Hippolyta going to the horses. So this is like the beginning of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is what you guys saw, where they find out that the mother box is awakened. This is after Superman dies. So this was going to be at the end of Wonder Woman. And she was going to say something is coming. Right? Patty Jenkins had a scene at the end of Wonder Woman where Hippolyta and Vanilla noticed the sound waves of Superman's cry as he's killed by Doomsday. Then Zachary left Justice League, and they planned on changing its opening for the Hippo. They removed this tie-in. See, what was supposed to happen was, at the end of Wonder Woman, they were supposed to say something is coming. And we wouldn't see Steppenwolf, but it was supposed to end right there, and it would pick up at Zack Snyder's Justice League. So there was a continuity. And yeah, anyway. But I was told the Snyderverse is dead. Restore the Snyderverse. Crowdfund Zack Snyder's Justice League campaign reaches 400,000 in 3 days. And the McFarlane toys. They dropped some money on new McFarlane toys. You guys know about the whole thing. Aaron Fisher says it's time to start talking about actual ticket sales when talking about films to get a real comparison. The money made is twisted by outlets. Real interest is butts in the seats. It's time. And Aaron Fisher is correct. He's also found on YouTube. Someone who has mad skills rarely needs to do a supercut of Man of Steel, BVS, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, all leading into each other. Ben W. says they hate the character. They've always hated the character. Stop listening to these surface level losers. Superman has depth and complexity. They, however, do not. This is true. Which one Aura farmed again? Can't see the bomb shielded behind the ledge, so can't act in time. Watches bomb get swallowed in real time and just stands there. This is why they don't do value dollar for dollar. It makes their movie look bad. Superman 78, 1.5 billion. Man of Steel, 928 million. Superman Returns, 541 million. Superman is at 500, I think, and 7 million right now. And they're busting out the champagne when it still has 200 million plus to go. About 28 million. About 228 million to go, and they're not gonna make it. WB couldn't handle the success of Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman, and Suicide Squad, and went full greedy with Justice League 2017, butchered the movie, making it 2 hours for more screening, which would increase more revenue for the movie and eventually more bonus for the executives. But that led to 4 years of wait for the original cut, which is Zack Snyder's Justice League, as well as the global phenomenon, which is Zack Snyder's Justice League. I celebrating turning Superman from a worldwide box office success into a domestic average performer is a weird flex. But here we are. WB, we always thought Superman was too international. Sure you did, sure. But if we bring up Wonder Woman's box office totals for the fact that Man of Steel made its budget back from production placement deals while Jimmy Pistol's overstepping by spending $250 million to market his film, we are the bad guys. You know it's cooked when they're screaming about domestic box office, but stay dead silent on the global numbers. And we don't even need inflation adjustment to see how weak the flex really is. I love it when woke people tell me to stop using inflation as a point why Man of Steel made more. But they go ahead and tell me COVID 5 years ago is affecting the 2025 movie. Ask ChatGPT if you're doubting me. Man of Steel didn't have a Supergirl, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, and Element Man in it. Man of Steel, 17 days, grossed $633.8 million, plus inflation. Superman, 2025, 17 days, grossed $502.7 million, plus inflation, all heroes featured in film. So you got to understand, we have not even catered for inflation. All right. This is a beautiful artwork here. Restore the Sniper says, where's the business wisdom from us who you call toxic Russian Snyder robots? Is Zack Snyder, Ray Fisher, and Wayne T. Carr back? Till then, I stand with Ray Fisher. Accountability is greater than entertainment. Boycott WB, aka the shit fucks down the street. You started the Snyderverse, so get the fuck out of here. Okay. So that's about it. I don't want to go into too much more on Palestine or anything else. I want to let that play out. Screen Time said, what's your honest opinion? Batman v Superman? Also, Screen Rant said the same thing. And you can see how many comments are below. 1.5K comments, 4.5K likes. People are afraid of what they don't understand. Streaming Max gets it. Mariano Navarro says they went from going to make $1 billion to doesn't need to make that much to happy with 500 to foreign countries don't matter to doing great domestically to it's only just 2 weeks, but everyone loves it. And just as long as we can beat that 12-year-old movie somehow. Superman passed Man of Steel at the domestic box office. The thing about it is, it didn't. Once you adjust for inflation, Man of Steel outperformed it by far.
DC universe. Oh. For a way to tell this thing. so what happened was I came across something that I feel like stop. I feel like sort of sums up. Because of course we're writing the thing now, so it doesn't exist, but there is a thing that I found that kind of helped me understand what you can do. So I have a friend with me, this Harry Lennox. Harry Lennox it was in Man of Steel. Oh. And the reason I brought him out is because his voice is just way better than mine. Now he's gonna come right here. Now he's gonna read a little thing. He's gonna read a little thing. And some of you will recognize it, and it's not, we're not adapting this thing, but it is the thing that will help tell that story. So if we could, actually just like a spotlight would be cool on the lectern. Is that? Okay, that's, hang on. Hey, let's see. All right, that was good.
I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in all your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
Yeah, those were the days in San Diego Comic-Con when the whole place went nuts. Zack Snyder pulled out Batman v Superman. It's something Warner Bros. Wanted to do for a long time, by the way. And those were good times, man. And they still can come back, but we have to fight for them. Part of the marketing campaign, keep pretending it's a success. The fall will be harder. Hashtag sponsored. Oh, God. What's your honest opinion of Batman v Superman? Honestly, the greatest DC movie ever made. This dude got 77 replies, 467 likes. Just off of just responding. 10 million less people went to go see Super Shit. This is concerning domestic totals. The death toll of Palestinians during Israel war in Gaza has now surpassed 60,000 people. Bro, you still in the dark ages, man. we are almost close to 500 million people died. 500,000 people, sorry. Better late than never. Thank you, Brazil. Brazil announces a host of sanctions against Israel, the Israeli regime. Great stuff. All right. Yes, James Gunn, Superman surpassed Man of Steel's 291 million domestic gross, reaching 292.5 as of today, making it the highest grossing solo Superman film nominally. However, due to inflation, average ticket prices, so and so, it sold fewer tickets, so the viewership is lower. Also, if you include inflation, Superman's domestic rollout would have been $405 million domestically. So, got a ways to go, buddy. Restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't think Warner Brothers Discovery will restore the Snyderverse unless they.
I thought, because what I thought was like anything, we would do this run of these movies, and then we would get to the end, and then they'd have to reboot the whole thing again and start over. You know, just like kind of the cycle that is natural for DC. And also, you know, I think it's like, you know, then the people have had enough. We've had our run. You know, it's like we wrote a comic book. We took a run and we did some crazy stuff.
Still working? You're getting slow in your old age, huh? Comes to us all, Master Wayne. Even you've got too old to die young. Not for lack of trying. Follow ferry, butterbar, follow ferry, butterbar, follow ferry, butterbar, follow ferry. There's nothing wrong with the microphone. It's this new layer of armor. I just have to rewire. So, last night was productive? Nope. It's too low level. You do nothing. This is a man who knows things. Anatoly Knyazov. He's Russian. Contracts all over the globe, but he's based out of the port of Gotham. Weapons, human trafficking. So the white Portuguese is a Russian. That's the theory. No. The theory is that the Russian will lead me to the man himself. If he is indeed a him. You don't even know if he exists. It could be a phantasm. One that wants to bring a dirty bomb into Gotham. Ah, high stakes round. New rules. We're criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals. Nothing's changed. Oh, yes, it has, sir. Everything's changed. Men fall from the sky. The gods hurl thunderbolts. Innocents die. That's how it starts. The fever, the rage, the feeling of powerlessness that turns good men cruel.
Screenwrite. What do you think about Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice? Would you rank it against the entire DCU, the new Superman movie? Got 291 replies, 763 likes. So, you know.
I served in the Army for 25 years. I've been shot 3 times in combat. I'm pretty tough. This gets me every time because, to what you're saying, the dehumanization. And what I want to say to the American people and to the people of Israel, I've been there. I have touched them. I have talked to them. The civilians in Gaza that are getting the food, they are starving. They are not animals. They're human beings. And they're being treated like animals. We treat these civilians in Gaza worse, with less dignity than we treated the ISIS fighters that surrendered in Baghuz Faghani in Syria in 2018. This young boy, this is on May 28th on secure distribution site number 2. The aid had been distributed. A lot of people had left. You see behind, there's a crowd of people still with their boxes, kind of getting ready to leave. And this little boy, his name is Amir, and he was standing, he was with the crowd, but he walks over, and you see that first picture on the top right. He kind of walks over to me, and he puts out his hand. And at first I thought like that he wanted more food or something, and I felt bad because I didn't have anything. But I was like, oh, I have nothing. And he puts out his hand, and so I beckoned him to come to me. I said, come here. And he reaches out and he holds my hand, and he kisses my hand. He kisses me. He kisses my hand, and he says, "Shukran." You can see in this picture that this little boy is not wearing shoes. His clothes are falling off of him because he's so skinny. I put my hand on his left shoulder, and I looked at him, and he's looking at me. We're looking at each other in the eyes, and I say to him, "People care. You're a human being, and people care about you. The world cares. That's not Hamas. That's not a Hamas fighter." And I looked at him and I said, "The world cares." And he put down the little food he has. You notice he doesn't have a box. He doesn't have a box of food. He has half of a bag of rice that he found on the ground, a broken bag, half a bag of lentils that he found on the ground, and he was thanking us. Thank you. This little boy from where he came from walked 12 kilometers to get there, just to get there. 12 kilometers. Look at this boy. And when he got there, he thanked us for the remnants and the small crumbs that he got. And he sets them down on the ground, because I was kneeling at this point, and he sets his food down, and he places his hands on my face, on the side of my face, on my cheeks, these frail, skeleton, emaciated hands, dirty. And he puts them on my face, and he kissed me. He kissed me, and he said, "Thank you," in English. "Thank you." And he collected his items, and he walked back to the group. And then he was shot at with pepper spray and tear gas and stun grenades and bullets shot at his feet in the air. And he runs away scared. And the IDF were shooting at the crowd. So they're shooting to control the population that's along the Marab corridor. And as they're doing that, they're shooting into this crowd. I served in the army for 25 years. And Palestinians, civilians, human beings are dropping to the ground, getting shot. And Amir wasn't one of them. Amir walked 12 kilometers to get food, got nothing but thanked us for it, and died. I've been shot 3 times in combat. I'm pretty tough. This gets me every time because, to what you're saying, the dehumanization. And what I want to say to the American people.
I want to let you guys know that I'm here with you guys when it comes to Free Palestine all day long. And my heart really breaks at what is happening. I've been following everything that's been happening. I haven't been speaking about it too much because I mentally, emotionally, it's very draining. So I poured my energies for a little bit into Restore the Snyderverse because of that. It's devastating what is happening to these Palestinian people. And I think it is too much for people to be going through. I've been taking it more to God now to see him oversee this in a better way, because he knows what kind of evil is happening. And I'm praying to God that he will stop these wicked people from what they're doing. These are very evil people, and what they're doing is so evil that even Israelis are acknowledging the evil now. Whole world can see who they are and what they're about. And I understand why countries have coups. I understand why the people overthrow governments. Now I understand why. So I'm praying to God, the higher power, because there are times when I feel very helpless about the situation that's happening before us. James Gunn's trailer for Avatar: Fire and Ash was came out, and I watched it. I'm looking forward to that movie at the end of this year, December 19th. But I got to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys. The kind of atrocities I see when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to the West Bank, when it comes to what these people have tolerated and dealt with for decades, I don't fault them for wanting to annihilate off the face of the planet every single Israeli. That's just a direct consequence of things. And I'm praying to God for him to intervene, because that's the only way. This is so dire and so evil right now. So many people are dying as I speak here now. Fellow human beings who done nothing, deserve nothing, don't deserve this. And this is not just in Palestine, but I would like to limit it to Palestine for right now. It's so hard to talk about this. So, free Palestine. Babies are dying. Children are dying. Men and women are dying. Have absolutely nothing to do. Have not done anything but exist. And that has been their crime. I know God is just, and I know you will reward accordingly, but I'm just saying. Oh, Lord, you know. You know. You and you alone know how much everyone who has a heart in them wants to see this end and the oppression of these people end. So I'm going to end on this sad note. Keep these people in your prayers, please. And let's pray that they don't get annihilated. We're taking too long and we're moving too slowly. Tyrants are allowed to dictate whatever they want and to do evil wherever they are. We have to stand up against them. And our leaders have to grow balls and stop them. But if our leaders won't, the people will. We may have to overthrow our leaders to have that happen. And many of us will have to die for Palestine. God be with you all.